Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Emily Hughes. So Emily, I usually wait until later in our interview to flash back to when one of my guests was in college. But because you graduated so recently, I thought it would be interesting for our young listeners to learn that even though you've spent the entirety of your professional life in the social media digital marketing space, you didn't study it in school. In fact,
that is true.
Your BA and your MA, which you got in 4 years, and were the first in Villanova to complete both a BA and an MA in just 4 years, was in communication. So what was your first job out of school, and how did you get it?
So my first job out of school was at Hager Sharp, which you mentioned, which was a communications agency in DC. And I worked with education clients in the government sectors and also nonprofit sectors. And I actually got it through my alumni network. So when I was finishing my master's, I was a graduate assistant at Villanova's Alumni Association. And so much of that job was networking, and also understanding kind of the tools that I could leverage through our alumni association to land a job. So I took probably 100 informational interviews with alumni, just trying to understand, what they did for a living, and did they love it, and would it be a fit for me, and how do I get into it? And I met a woman who worked at Hager Sharp in DC in PR and had studied communications at Villanova, and we really clicked, and we kept in touch, and suddenly a job opened at that agency, and she called me and I applied and got it. So it was definitely through a connection. And actually my next job also came through Villanova's Alumni Association. So a big part of marketing is networking. It's really hard to just kind of send your resume in through an Indeed or a LinkedIn and get an interview from that. You kind of need somebody who knows you, who can take your resume and put it on top of the pile. And even beyond that, marketing requires a lot of networking, since you do so much collaboration and partnership. So that was a skill I learned in school, was how to form those connections, and then ultimately how to use them to forward my career.
Oh my God, 100%. And here's another data point for you. Only 5% of people who apply for jobs through an Indeed or one of these other job boards or even company websites actually get hired. 5%.
That is wild.
The vast majority are through what Emily just cited. Through people you know. And it doesn't have to be people that are like family friends or people you've known for a long time. Could be somebody that you meet online at the grocery store. But it's usually through someone you know who has either told you about a job that you wouldn't have otherwise known about. And in fact, I want to say over 40% of jobs that are filled are never posted online. Which is yet again why those relationships matter. Sometimes jobs are created based on the person. I mean, look at Emily,
that's so true.
Right? Emily's job didn't even exist before she started at Mobilize. And in fact, the same thing was true at Goop.
That is true. And actually, when they first approached me at Mobilize, they were hiring a performance marketing manager, which essentially is a more junior person that would just run like Facebook ads and things like that. And I met the CEO and we clicked right off the bat, and they expanded it into a head of marketing role instead.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee, 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.